All right, my friends, and to all those tuning in here, and we'll tune in here for live stream. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. This is how we see it.
Yes.
Damn right. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, man.
Crazy week.
Every week's crazy.
It is.
Today,
Every week's crazy.
Today I'm definitely mentally spent, I would say. So I'm not sure what's going to come out of me tonight. We'll find out.
I'll carry the heavy water.
That's fine, man. You usually do. I just show up.
That is not true.
I just show up with coffee.
So definitely want to cover a few current events here as we normally do, but also want to spend maybe the second half of the show talking a little bit about emotional intelligence.
Yeah, let's do it.
That infamous book from 1995. I think it was Daniel Goleman, I think
so, yeah.
Yeah. We all of us probably at one point in time from our generation read that.
I read it a long time ago.
Yeah.
I read a lot of books on emotional intelligence.
There's been subsequent books since then.
Yeah, absolutely. Great topic.
Okay, this past week, how about this stuff? So our president is having some agility issues.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, if that's one of them, yes.
Am I wrong?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. And again, it's always excuses. That's why just say the man is feeble and that he's not fit for office. Like, we're just trying to make excuses now. It's pretty obvious that he's just not physically fit, mentally there as well. So, yeah, he's definitely had some difficulties. Walking up steps, down steps, cross stages, walking in general, riding bikes. I mean, pretty much everything physical that one president can do, he's definitely had a challenge with.
So, do you find it interesting that Dianne Feinstein is being, and every indication is that she is really compromised now. I don't know if it's just onset dementia or whatever it is. I don't want to say something here that might not be true, but it's obvious she's having memory issues.
Yeah.
It's talked about by every news service. But she's somewhat being forced to, relinquish her seat.
Well, yeah, okay.
Okay, she's somewhat being forced to do that by her own party.
I feel like that's probably a smart thing to do.
I'm not saying it is right or wrong, but I just find it interesting that we have two other people in that party serving, our president and so our senator from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They've had some challenging issues that have yielded some cognitive visuals that the public has to ingest and somewhat figure out.
Yeah, look.
And those two are defended.
Well, right. And that's the problem. Right? There's a double standard. I think we need to put mechanisms in place in our system to protect the American people from this type of shit. Because you can't have people that, look, I get as we age, things happen. We become mentally and physically compromised. That's okay.
Hey, watch it.
Listen, I'm going to be 46 this summer. So it's part of the aging process. And we need to be okay admitting that. Saying, yes, these people are not fit to lead anymore. That's okay. They gave their public service over time.
Okay.
They don't have to. We need to put mechanisms in place.
So what does that look like?
If I had the answer, I'd probably not be sitting here right now. I don't know. Like we have, you can remove people from office, being unfit to serve. But I think there needs to be mechanisms in place, like not just this bullshit, once a year physical that the president undergoes. I think we need to really have a hold on the mental capacity of the people governing our country. That's a very important thing. And again, I'll come back to it, which I've said a million times on the podcast. Term limits solves a lot of these problems. Like, no one should be serving in government for 50 fucking years.
Mm-hmm.
We need new ideas. We need new people. We need new blood. That's why the parties get stale. That's why we have such a divide in this country. Because the people that have been in office keep us divided so they stay in office. So we need to get back to, let's put term limits in place so then you get the best people that want to serve the public and not do it for their life, do it for the purpose of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like look at Biden. He's a career politician. And again, I'm not saying anything bad against one party or the other, because you want who's ever in power to be successful for the country. But being a career politician is not something one should aspire to be. Engage in public service for the service of the public for a limited period of time, then get back out and let somebody else come in. That's what we need to do. But people are too afraid to do it because it impacts their livelihood. It impacts their power. That's the problem, in my opinion.
Do you think the public also has a problem too because of there's, I guess the word is cronyism? There's just so many
Absolutely.
favors done from politicians,
Yes.
and when it comes to like employment and how
Yes.
big the payroll of the U.S. government has gotten, how bloated it is,
Yeah.
and how many government jobs there are, and a lot of those are politically, I don't know, they're filled by political appointments.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a big mechanism
Correct.
that they put their long-term employment in jeopardy if there's power changes.
Yeah. It's a machine. It's a political machine. That's the problem, right?
So we're guilty too.
Yeah.
As a public, we're very guilty.
Yeah, we let it happen. And again, we keep electing the same people. Like, that's the problem. Like, we can't sit here as the American public and blame politicians when we keep voting them in office. I mean, think about it. I feel like me blaming a hot stove because I keep touching the hot stove.
Okay, so we're going to get to why we're stuck in this two-party system here in a second.
Okay.
We're going to get there by talking about two major announcements that were made just in the past couple of days here. We assumed Chris Christie, the former New Jersey governor, was going to run on the Republican side. There was a rumor of that. We kind of thought so. And on the Democratic side, although not running as a Democrat, the Professor Cornel West is going to run as the candidate for the People's Party, which I think was an outshoot of the Democratic Socialist Party. I think
believe so.
I could be wrong, but he's a progressive thinker and a philosopher. Wonderful speaker, by the way. He made his announcement actually today.
Okay.
So, there's a third party candidate coming in here.
Okay.
We don't. That it's safe to assume is going to take votes, whatever they are, whatever scale they are, from the Democratic side, the progressive liberal side. You have many people sounding off today from the Democratic Party, very upset, calling it an ego trip and disparaging him.
Okay.
And many people also saying that, hey, the two-party system's broken, and why not? Why not have a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth party in there? And we've kind of done that, Rocco, in prior elections, but it never seems to amount to anything. I think Ross Perot was the independent back in 92, was it?
Yeah.
They got the most percentage, but it wasn't close to being successful.
Well, absolutely. So here's the thing. So I think we have to break the system down before a third or fourth party will make any headway. Because you can stick a third party in there right now or a fourth party, but the two major parties are going to get a majority of the votes because most of the people don't understand the platforms of the other parties, right? So that's the problem. Right? So if you have, we'll just take simple math. If you have 100 people, right, and with the two-party system, 50 vote Democrat, 50 vote Republican. And now you say, hey, we're going to be this third and fourth party, like fringe Republican, fringe Democrat. Okay, we believe in all this other stuff. Well, you may get 20 people to understand it, right? But you still have 80 people that are voting for the two major parties. There's not enough education of the platforms of these other parties to actually make an impact because we haven't went through enough election cycles where one has withstood the test of time. So you have to get a party in place that can withstand the test of time, get enough money and backing behind it, that has a good enough platform to attract a wider audience and go through a couple election cycles of not winning, but educating. I think if you do that, 10 years from now, we can break the two-party system. But we're not willing to do that, and that's been the problem, in my opinion. So these third and fourth parties, all they're doing is taking votes from the front runners in the two major parties.
Yeah, and it's like, we know the right thing to do is to encourage it because the ultimate hope would be that it would gain traction over a couple cycles and be relevant.
Yeah, that's exactly
But we also know that it is very destructive to whatever party it pulls votes from.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that's why people have a problem with it, right? Because the people in power want to remain in power. So they just get pissed when you have these other parties pop up because they know they're not going to win. They know that for a fact. The machine's not there to make them win. All they're going to do is jeopardize the party in power.
So is it an ego trip then?
Fuck yeah, absolutely it is. It's an ego trip. Politics are ego.
In general, yeah.
I mean, it's about power and control. That's what I believe.
But if you know you're going to lose, but you do it anyways for the platform. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. If the goal is to eliminate the two-party system, you have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
But it seems like it's a third party starts, whether it's the Green Party, whatever, and they either fold or they remain very irrelevant. Nothing seems to take root
because they're not educated. Think of it. Do you hear about the Green Party ever? No one's educating it, right? So we have media stations that are run by the two parties, right? There's no news network that supports a third party, right? So the majority of the American people get their news from the major networks, right? If you think about it, right? We've talked about this numerous times. So if you have no one on those networks imparting education to the people that are watching about these third and fourth parties, they're non-existent. They're irrelevant in their mind. You're going to get people that maybe know a little bit about it, like libertarian, right? To me, that's a platform I support. But again, it's never going to make headway because not enough people understand it.
Why, though?
That's a great question. I think it's lack of education. But that's every part. Because think about it. I guarantee you, if you sit down with a Republican or a Democrat, they could not articulate their entire party position.
No.
They articulate pieces of it that they latch onto, and that's the party position in their mind. So when you try and get people off of a party position into a middle ground, they go from, and this is the issue, I think, in human nature, right? If I say I'm a Republican, I believe in being fiscally conservative. That's what I care about the most, right? I'm a fiscal conservative. Or I believe in the Second Amendment, okay? That's why I'm a Republican. To move me to a libertarian, I have to understand everything. For me to change and say I'm no longer a Republican, I need to know what they think about guns, what they think about this, what they think about taxes. I need to look at the whole when I'm not doing it over here. Getting people to shift that mindset takes an enormous amount of effort and education in my mind to get them to a different party.
I would suggest that maybe we're not wired as humans anymore because of the way our society is, that extra thinking, that extra thought, that extra calm that is required to go into those issues with reflection and everything else. We're either just not interested or we just don't want to spend the time to do it. Even if we want to do it, we won't spend the time to do it.
No, there's information overload too. Like, think about how much information is coming at us every single day. So for me to spend time in trying to understand a new party position, think about the effort it takes for me to block out the other noise. Like, that's the issue, I think. Like, to me, like, when I first started voting, I believed I was a far right conservative. Over time, as I've gotten older, I believe I'm middle right, more libertarian. But I had to really take time to understand my viewpoints and what matters to me and what doesn't matter to me. And that was me educating myself over a 20-year period, not a 20-day period, where people can't hold their attention span for 20 minutes now.
We'd be better served because of that problem.
Yeah.
Just eliminating the parties and have people run at large.
Yeah, I don't disagree with
that. The question is, how do you get the messaging out administratively to the people through media, which requires money? There's a money element that is so strong in terms of the delivery of the message. That if you eliminate all of that and you just run at large, even if there's thousands of people running for president, like how do you concisely get all those messages out on an even-handed basis?
Social media.
The platform is there. Are we sophisticated enough to sort through hundreds of candidates?
No.
That's a problem.
We can barely sort through 4 in a primary.
Exactly right.
And really understand what's going on.
And that's what I mean. Like, I don't know if it's a solution. Yeah. I'm not sure it's a viable solution.
I truly believe in my heart of hearts that if we instituted term limits, a lot of these problems would start like really eliminating themselves. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Because then people aren't in it for power, they're in it for change.
And I think that you would get more successful business folks who have had a good run and have done some amazing things say, hey, I've had a good life. I'm going to go serve 2 terms, 1 term, whatever it is.
I agree.
And then I'm out.
I agree completely.
I mean, they're not going in it long term. It's not a career, you know.
I don't think. But here's the thing. I don't think people go in intending it to be.
Some.
But absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think people get very corrupted. Not everybody, but I think there is a level of corruption within politics that once they get into the system, it's hard to leave the system.
Okay.
That's just how I look. I mean, I've talked to people that are in politics, even state politics.
Mhm.
It's a machine. Like, once you're in it, they make it too good for you to get out.
Yeah, and obviously things are not above board because they're. If you examine even our senators and
Yeah.
our representatives, and then get down to the state level,
Mhm.
we're not talking about life-changing money in regards to the actual salaries
No, that's not it at all.
at all.
It's everything else.
But there's it's kind of like, years ago in the 90s when I had the delusion of maybe running for state rep councilman in my local town.
Yep.
I had a politician tell me that because I asked what the salary was for the state representative in my area, and I was told that it was $48,000 and all you can steal. And it was said with an absolute dead. Now the representative didn't tell me that. I'm just another politician in that area looked at me deadpan and told me that. I could not fucking believe that. I couldn't believe it.
That's the problem.
But it was said with complete seriousness.
Yep. And that's the problem, because that's what happens. Like, people get in there and they're so, think about the people that get into politics and they write a book that literally looks like it's written by a third grader, but sells, they make $500,000 from book sales. Meanwhile, it's just someone buying a bunch of books to basically fund.
And they go into a dumpster.
And they go into a dumpster, exactly. You don't see them on the shelves anywhere. You don't see them at Barnes & Noble. You don't see them on Amazon. But so-and-so's a best-selling author, sold 500,000 copies of a book that was literally written by a third grader. And that's the problem. It's just, it's a power grab. Yeah. And it corrupts people. I had aspirations years ago about doing it. I don't think I would ever do it now. The more I think about it, maybe someday, only if I could affect change.
I think you'd really struggle with party politics.
I definitely would. I'm not
conforming
to it. Conforming. Yeah, it's not my jam.
And I think other people get elected thinking they're never going to conform, and then they get in there and they realize that life's a lot easier and more financially rewarding for them if they do conform.
If they just follow the rules. Because think about the elections, like a state rep every 2 years. So you get
insane.
You get 6 months to get acclimated. You get 6 months to do something. You got to start your platform again another year.
And House of Representatives.
Yeah. So you really don't have
the people's house, but you can still have the people's house, I think, if you had 4-year terms.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. Yes. Or 3. You even add a year. Make an odd year in there. I don't know.
So back to Dr. West. Is this an ego trip? And that's all it is.
I don't necessarily think. I'm sure that is a piece of it. I think every politician has an ego, or they wouldn't be running for office. I think maybe he truly does think he can make change, or maybe he just wants to make sure Biden doesn't get reelected. A lot of times that's what these parties do, right? It's not about them getting elected. It's making sure someone else doesn't get elected.
But it's crazy because if they split the Democratic ticket and the GOP gets it, theoretically, the GOP is so philosophically opposed to what they believe on the left, not right or wrong, just the differences. So you punish Joe Biden, take him from the seat, but you don't ultimately get what's best for your side. It's nuts.
But here's the thing, actually. If you historically look, I think the parties like switching power back and forth because it gives them the ability to fight for the people and stay in power. If the Democrats kept winning, Republicans would they'd be like, we need to get new Republicans in there, right? Democrats, people would lose interest in them. So I think switching power back and forth keeps confusion in the populace.
And the same people in office.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. Because you think about it, since the Democratic Party had the House of Representatives for, I'm going to say 60 years, it might not have been that long. But it changed in 94, I believe. But that was the last time that there was any significant long period of time of one party rule.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating to me. I look back at the Ralph Nader campaign of 2000 and it was either 2000 or 2004. I can't remember. But they say, maybe it was 2004, that he took enough votes off of Kerry or was it Gore? I don't know. One of those two.
In what year?
2000?
2000 was Gore.
Or
That
it was
was Gore.
2004 where Nader ran and took an 8-9% of the votes, and that's how George W. ended up
Yeah.
president of the United States.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in these situations. It's more about splitting votes.
So okay, conspiracy.
Yeah.
All right.
I like conspiracy.
So why the system is so screwed up is this leaves a huge conspiratorial angle with the right amount of money. Case in point.
Okay.
I am the Democratic chairman, national chairman. You are the Republican national chairman.
Okay.
I got a lot of money in my back pocket, so do you.
Cool.
I could decide that there is a ultra right wing of the Republican Party that's very much in disagreement with the establishment of the Republicans. Couldn't I covertly, with my funds, subvert the whole process by quietly backing through money and the formation of another conservative party to take votes away from my opponent?
Theoretically, yeah, but there's so many campaign disclosure laws that you'll find the money. You'll be able that much money to fund an entire party.
It doesn't have to be successful. It just needs to take a couple points.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about a large amount of money. Like there's a lot of shady shit that goes on in politics.
You wouldn't even have to create the party. You just have to light a little fire under an existing third party.
Is it feasible? Absolutely. Does it probably happen? Sure. The system,
fund your opponent.
The system's broke.
Your opponent's opponent.
Well, that's right, and that's the problem. The system's broke, and we need to fix it. I don't know how we do that other than terms.
Okay. I hate politics.
And somehow we always land on them.
Because that's all
I know,
we
right?
see all the time. Because everybody's wearing a badge on their chest. I am this. I am this.
I can tell I have red and blue on. So
yeah,
do both.
I don't know. I want to touch on the Ukraine war for a second. We're both pretty much on record for giving our thoughts on the matter. I've kind of come full circle. I certainly was my heart broke so bad in the beginning because of what I was seeing. I was kind of thinking with my heart more than my head. I do think that Putin is a criminal, and I do think that there is what he has done by initiating and then continuing to do this. He is the quote unquote heavily guilty one, but there's guilt on both sides. And the motivations we're never really going to know, ultimately.
Yeah, I agree.
But what I wanted to tell you was, as of this month, give it 2 or 3 weeks, Reuters is saying that we're now if you include humanitarian, military, and one other aspect of our money, we're at $75 billion of American tax dollars.
Why?
At the war.
Right, why?
75 billion.
Yeah, with a B. Billion. It's a lot of money. A lot of money.
No end in sight.
Well, and this is my problem. Any war is terrible, and I understand there's a reason to interject ourselves into foreign wars, but we should be taking care of our people here first. Like $75 billion can go a lot of way to help veterans, to help kids, to protect schools. There's a lot of things. Put food on the table. There's a lot of things $75 billion can be doing. A lot. And that's where, as a country, we need to be better.
Is there any plan for us to recoup any of this money? You think? I mean, is there anything mechanism in place that once this is over? No, I mean,
how? What are they going to do?
I don't know. Grain, oil, some way to remunerate, at least in some capacity, the American taxpayer.
You would hope that's the case. I don't necessarily think that is. No, I don't believe that's the case at all.
Here's another statistic for you in terms of casualties. Also, according to Reuters, this past week, we're up to 354,000 casualties.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and deaths, we're at over 18,000 Ukrainian soldier deaths and over, estimate, 40,000 Russian soldier deaths.
What's the point? It's senseless in my mind. All these people are dying for what? No one even really knows. Like you see all these people that are supporting the war, and you ask them, like, "What is the war about?" Like I don't know. Like I don't know enough about it to sit here and intelligently articulate the reasoning of the Ukraine war. Most people out there that change their Facebook profile to say, "I support the war," couldn't tell you what the war's about. But yet we're all jumping on this bandwagon. We should probably understand what it's about first. What the country stands
because
for.
we honestly really don't care that much.
Well,
we care enough to give it a passing glance and to sit in our emotions for a couple minutes when we see the visuals. But much beyond that,
yeah.
not really.
Well, and the other thing is where I get frustrated, and I'm not going to get into the topic, but Ukraine doesn't believe a lot of the things that we believe here and the people that support Ukraine believe, but they don't understand that. And like you're supporting a country that flies in the face of other things you support. If you understand what I'm saying,
100%.
yes, it's all about, save Ukraine, save Ukraine, save Ukraine. But if you lived in Ukraine, you would be shocked.
Okay, and we can say the same thing about our prior wars in the Middle East.
Yes, same thing. Absolutely right. Yes, and this is where I just wish people. I'm all for believing in a cause and supporting a cause you believe in, but understand everything about the cause before you go out there and plant your flag. Too many people just want to plant a flag to say they planted a flag and jump on the bandwagon with the crowd without really understanding what's on that bandwagon.
It takes a level of sophistication and thought, and I don't know if we have it in us to do that anymore.
But I feel like it's basic thought. Like it's basic stuff that we should be thinking about that we're not even doing.
Have you been in a Walmart checkout line?
I mean, I've been in a lot of places where I don't think we have sophistication, and I'm not saying I'm the most sophisticated person. Right? I'm very flawed in my thinking and otherwise. But if I'm going to take a stand on a cause, I at least know enough about it to articulate. That's why like there's certain things that we talk about. Like, I don't care. Not that I don't care about it. I don't know enough about it to articulate a strong position one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to feign a fake position because I think it makes me fit into a group. Mm-hmm. I'm fine being a loner in certain aspects. Mm-hmm. Totally fine with that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to compromise what I believe in or my values just to fit in with the group.
I agree, and I think we're both very similar in that way. But I will tell you, there's not many in this country that can be okay with being indifferent or not being resolute in a position. Yeah.
It's okay to be alone. It's okay to not fit into a box. Mm-hmm. Individualism is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Original thought is a good thing. We need to get back to that.
Ayn Rand book.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get back to a lot of these things. We need to get...
It's the truth. I mean, you know how I feel about it.
We could get on our soapbox. All I want to say is I truly believe that we as a country need to start trying to think a little bit more. Maybe you'll come to the same conclusion and support the same position you support.
Very possible.
Now. And that is awesome. Like, I'm all for it. Like, I would never take a position where I'm right, you're wrong. We have different opinions, right? I don't have to believe what you believe. You don't have to believe what I believe. It doesn't mean either one of us is wrong, right? We can all formulate our own opinions. The problem I have in this country right now is people are just grabbing onto opinions of others and believing that's what they believe, and they haven't even determined what they actually believe in and what they truly stand for.
It makes no sense to become married to any position if you are not ready and able to defend, articulate that position at any moment. Yeah. If you can't do that, then you're really not married to it. It's a whim. It's a passing glance, and that's okay. Yeah. We all have those. Treat it as such. Yes. Don't become so resolute in your stated beliefs, and move on. Yeah.
Are you willing to die on the hill?
Move on.
And if you're not, that's okay. Move on.
Well, especially when we are shown that we are wrong.
Yeah.
When we are shown scientific, indisputable visual evidence that we made a mistake. The idea of owning the mistake and saying, wow, I blew that one. All right, I stand corrected. And just move on. Yeah. Right? We don't do that. We become married to it. We're very passionate about what we think we know and believe.
I completely agree, man.
But if you asked someone to articulate why. I mean, they do it every night, I think, on the comedy shows. They put a man on the street and they put a microphone. They ask a part of American history, or they ask, what candidate do you like? Or they ask, what's your stance on this or that?
Yeah.
And some folks are very resolute about what they believe, and this person's good, and this person's bad. And then they ask the next question, like, why do you feel that way? Why do you believe that? And they can't articulate.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And it's humiliating. I feel embarrassed to watch my fellow humans when they get put in those positions.
It's our country, unfortunately. That's where we are as a society, unfortunately.
I don't know how anything gets done. I don't know how the wheels of life, the mechanism of life, continues to roll forward when we're not really intellectually engaged. We think we are emotionally engaged in so much, but we're not really intellectually engaged.
But life will move on because people will see the opportunity in it. Like, I'm good that people don't think the way I think. It's a competitive advantage. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's how life moves on. That's how bigger things happen.
I've never wanted on this show from day one. I mean, even when I really was still forming what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
The one thing I was certain of, I just wanted someone to come on and express their beliefs in an articulate fashion, no matter whether I thought it was nuts, whether I thought it was spot on, whether it blew my mind.
Yeah.
But to take a position and then be able to articulate it, even poorly, I would take that.
Yeah.
Well, but it often doesn't happen.
Thinking has become a challenge for some people, lots of people. But I think I'm okay with it. Again, I think it's a competitive advantage. I'm good that people don't want to understand the why, that they don't want to do the heavy lifting, trying to get to the root cause of issues and problems, because that just allows me to do it.
Yeah, there's a competitive advantage to it. Absolutely. I mean, you're taking advantage of the intellectual laziness that most of us have.
I'm taking advantage of the environment. That's how I look at it. Like, it's the environment that has been created by the media, by social media. I just see instead of looking at it as a detriment, I just see the opportunity of it and take advantage of it and just shoot out the noise.
They created the environment, but I can't let us off the hook. We're not like incapable of analyzing and recognizing bullshit. We're not. We choose not to at times.
Yeah, I mean, because to avoid confrontation or to fit in with the group, we tend to, you can slip out bullshit pretty quick, but most people avoid it because it's uncomfortable. And people have gotten very comfortable being comfortable.
So this is a great segue. The second half of this show, I wanted to touch on that emotional intelligence. And we right back around to it in terms of the way that we...
the left turn.
Yeah, so... Turn. Do you remember the tenets of that off the top of your head? I'm always surprised when he pulls these nuggets out, over the years.
What is it? Empathy, self-awareness, self-regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Social skills, and communication, right?
Well, I only have the 5. Maybe there's a 6th. I don't know.
Well, no, self-awareness, self-regulation.
Right. Motivation.
Okay.
Empathy. And social skills. Those are the 5 that I have.
Okay.
Maybe there's
different, like self-regulation, motivation, maybe the same thing.
So the book came out in 95. There's been many incarnations. I think there's been a 20th anniversary. There's been editions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's been spin-offs. Mm-hmm. Right? It's unfortunately, it sometimes gets muddied up and becomes a catchphrase with motivational speakers and things. Yes. But the concept is pretty good. And I think the fact that we do not have a great understanding of our emotions, I don't think, and we also don't know how to use them for our own benefit as much as we possibly could. And I think that plays right into how we're just maneuvering in 2023.
Yeah. I mean, I think the emotional intelligence is very much needed right now in this world. I think to achieve any level of success in life, you have to understand emotional intelligence. Like, think about it. Take one of those 10. Take empathy, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, I believe, to be successful in any business, you have to be empathetic. I'm a lawyer. Most people fucking hate lawyers, right? We're pricks. We chase money. Like, every bad thing you can say about a profession has been said about lawyers, right? So I need to understand that I'm already in that, when I engage with someone new, I'm already in that defensive position. Right. They're already coming at me from their preconceived notions.
Certainly.
So empathy is where that really helps me. I take time to really try to understand the person. Like, that's just my nature in general. But being a lawyer and engaging with clients, that is an absolute necessity. You have to be able to understand people and be empathetic towards their situation. They, and I tell all my people this every time. I said, we have a lot of clients who work on a lot of things every day. But when you talk to that one client, you need to make sure that you care so much that they know in that moment that's the only thing you care about. Like, don't be distracted. Don't be lazy. Don't rush through things. Actually care and be empathetic, because that's what people need. It's lost in society in most professions.
No question.
And if you can be an empathetic individual in any profession, especially the law, and even what you do, right? Because you're dealing with people that are making probably the biggest financial decision of their life. Somewhere they may call their home for the rest of their life. You have to be empathetic. You have to understand what motivates them, what drives them, what their fears are, what their hopes and dreams are, like what they really want. Like, I have to, every person I talk to, in that first 30 seconds, I'm trying to understand and calculate in my head how I need to communicate with this person. Like, one, empathy is always the underlying tone. I got to be empathetic, but is this the type of person that cares about this or this? How do I engage in that way? How do I make sure they understand that I understand them without making them feel like I'm talking over them, without making them feel like I'm telling them what to do? But there are so many nuances to emotional intelligence, but if you can really master that art, I truly believe success is inevitable. But people don't because it's hard work. You have to really want to understand people.
Because that's not our first inclination
No,
to do it. We're emotional creatures.
Correct.
And we're often driven by our emotions.
Yes.
We're, quote unquote, triggered by our emotions more than ever now in this world we're in.
Yes. Well, it's funny because, like, they were busting my balls in the office today because we had our record-breaking month in June or May. Excuse me, that was our best month ever. So Matt sent out an email congratulating everyone, and then Friday night, like, I was home by myself. The girls were at dance, and I came up to the gym, and I just wrote an email to the team, appreciating all of them. And it was like a sentimental email. It's, and they're like, "Oh, were you drinking?" I'm like, "No, like, that's just my nature." No, I wasn't drinking. That's just how, because I truly felt it and I meant it. And I wanted them to know that I appreciate all of them and that we wouldn't be where we are without all of them. And it wasn't, and I know they were just joking, but it's an analogy for life. Like, that, the initial instinct was, "Oh, he must have been drinking," because people aren't naturally expressing emotion. They only express emotion in compromised positions. But to me, it's like, no, that's not it. Like, I was literally sitting on my back deck doing some work, and I'm like, I just want to thank everybody. But it's like things like that, and that's why it's such a lost art in this world. And social skills and social media has created that problem, right? When you have social media that kind of puts this wall between people, we communicate differently. And then we think when we meet in real life, let's communicate the same way we do on social media. No, it's not the same.
Yes, and it's a great point. I think what it does is it does have that wall in terms of the mechanics of it, right? It's there. Yet it can, if done correctly, create the illusion that you understand the other person, the feelings of the other person, and it gives the illusion that you're there. And that's how we end up being
we could get into a whole 4-week series on manipulation. Like, that's just a whole different topic. But again, I think that wall that's been created through devices has, social media is great in certain aspects, but it's also done damage, especially if you don't know how to manage yourself with social media and the real world. It's, we have to understand that we have to get back to learning how to communicate with one another. Like, simple things, like that video I posted last week where it was like that advice to my son, about it was two pieces of advice I said in the video. It was like, understand your value. Like, if you're making 40 grand and you want to make 80 grand, work like you make 80 grand. Absolutely. Then you'll make it. Like, don't expect to be paid that and say, I'll work hard when I make it. No, bust your ass now, show your value.
How life works.
But then communicate, like the lost art of communication. Like, understand, like, how to read a room, like how to talk to a person. I had at least, I will, this is no exaggeration, at least 25 people reach out to me directly through either Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger they were all teachers or in education asking if one, they can share this with their students, or two, they wish more people were telling kids about this because they're not talking about how to communicate and how to understand your value. And like to me, that was like holy shit! Like this many people in the education field, like literally messaged me, took the time out, watched it, messaged me, shared it, because and it to me it's a simple message.
Okay,
It's a simple message.
Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Why don't you think that's being taught? Because I have a theory.
Well, let me hear your theory.
Oh, I definitely have a theory, and it's not going to go over well.
I love it.
I'm sorry.
I love it.
It's not. It's not.
Let's unpack your theory to piss off everybody. Love it. Love it.
Well,
just kidding.
There's two philosophies in this world. You know, there is when it comes to the workplace, there is a union mentality.
Sure.
Not even directly talking about unions, but there's a union mentality. And there's a non-union mentality.
Okay.
And to do what you're talking about, to go above and beyond, to act in a way as if you're already there.
Yeah.
Even though you're being compensated as if you're not quite there yet.
Yep.
It's a philosophy. I'm not saying it's being expressly detailed against that, but I'm saying it permeates. The philosophy permeates, and I think it is in education. I don't believe that the potential of a student in terms of sending them off in the world is really ingrained in them. I think it's more about survival, getting in with the right crowd so you can get taken care of, and you can find your way within a system where it's capped. Now, it could be subliminally, but I just don't feel that teachers' unions are going to put teachers in positions to have a mentality to think out of with unlimited potential. When you are in a system where your salary is managed and capped and protected by your system, that's not providing, I think, on a broad basis, the idea of pushing students. They're pushing their minds to truly believe that the sky is the limit. You can accomplish anything. To get there, you got to start acting like you're there. You got to. I don't think that is congruent, generally speaking, with the public school sector because they're being taught by union members.
Well, and the public school system was created to create workers, not to create entrepreneurs. Like that's the whole system was created. Like, and that's a good point, and I agree with that. Because I think they're nothing against teachers. I think teachers should be paid for performance. Because I believe there are amazing teachers. I had some growing up that were phenomenal that weren't paid what they were worth.
No doubt.
And then other teachers that I know that I had growing up that were not good at all, but were making great money and were just coasting through life.
It's the system.
Yeah, but like corporate America's different. You can't. That's the only system that's like that. I feel like, and I just because there are so many amazing educators out there, and I think their hands are tied because of the system, and that's what's so frustrating. Because the next generation is who's like my kids are that going to lead the world someday. Like that generation is going to lead the world, and we need. So I've taken it upon myself to make sure I try and teach them as much as I can of how the world operates and how to navigate within it, because that's not being taught. Like, and that's why, like I told that video advice to my son's generation. Like my son's working for us, and he gets it, and I'm so proud of who he's become, and and because he's empathetic, he's smart, he's a hard worker, But I felt like his mother and I did a lot of work over the years, and and Laura and Greg, and just teaching him the right things. And I think parents have to own that. We have to take that responsibility for this next generation.
For sure.
They're not being taught these things because sometimes they can't be taught this because there's not, that's the other thing too. Like you have these school systems that are set up where how's a teacher supposed to manage all this? Like all these different kids and all these different education levels, all these different mentalities. Like it's a hard thing to do.
But if you were to start over with it, I mean, what's the harm with a system, which does not exist today, but if there was a system that compensated educators based upon performance?
I would love it. I think that's what it should be.
If most of the world runs that way, why do we not do that now?
Great question. I wish I had an answer to that because again, it's something that I see Laura, right? Like she's part of a union for her. Like she's a emotional support teacher, paraprofessional, not part of the teaching. I think I can't remember the other union, but like I see how hard she works, but she's only going to get a raise based on what that contract says. Like she could be the best one in that school, the best paraprofessional. Like I've seen her with those kids. Like I could not do what she does. Like it is a harder job than I will ever have. But she's always capped on what she'll make because it's what the contract says she'll get.
The travesty to me is that we send so many kids out into the world with limitations, mental limitations, and I don't even think it's done cruelly. It's just the system they're coming out of is being taught by people who their income in certain circumstance, their security is somewhat cultivated, but their financial rewards based upon their endeavors are capped.
Yeah.
It's something as simple as that. And again, if you take this as a negative hit toward teachers, that's not where I'm coming from at all.
No.
I think they should be paid more, but I also think they should be in a system which encourages them to do their absolute best to be an outstanding teacher.
Yes.
And then they'd be appropriately compensated for that.
I agree. That's how every business should run.
I mean, maybe 2 or 3 times what they're making now, if they earn it.
Yes, absolutely, man. It's important. I mean, that's why we started the foundation to really help educate kids on other opportunities that they can do whatever they want. College doesn't have to be for everybody. Just because the system's telling you it's not for you, you can be very successful. And that's why, I want to be able to go in and help kids and inspire kids and teach them what's possible. Because I look at kids, and I've always had a soft spot for kids, and it's just like they're the most pure thing there is, and we corrupt them.
So they're a blank palette.
Yeah, like can you think about if we flipped that and said, let's inspire this generation as to what's possible, instead of telling them their limitations, instead of putting limitations on the kids. Like reasonable. Now we can be reasonable, right? Like, hey, if I'm 4'2" and unathletic, I'm probably not going to be in the NBA. That's an okay limitation to put on someone. Because what that does is diverts energy to somewhere else.
Sure.
Like you don't want a kid that physically can never do it to put all their time and effort into something that's going to lead to disappointment.
Sure. It's
our job as parents to steer our kids in the right direction. But I think we need to learn to start inspiring our kids and giving them hope and motivating them. Like that's what I want my kids to do. I want my kids to look at me and what I'm doing and be inspired by it and understand that like my dad did this for us so we could do more.
Oh, 100%.
And like I want my kids to be exponentially more successful than me. Like that is my sole goal as a parent, for my kids to outshine me throughout their life. I'm hoping that I'm giving them the tools to do that. And we as parents need to start looking at life that way. How can we inspire our kids? Because our kids are watching us every single day. They watch us. I mean, look what your son and your daughter, right? They watch you and they become successful and they're doing well in life. Like we've taken the path where like we are trying to inspire that next generation. And if more people did that, think about how different the world would be in 20 years.
Yeah, and again, I just think that they're coming out of 12th grade.
Yeah.
There's not enough inspiration to the possibilities. I mean, a lot of them come out thinking, okay, the next thing I have to do is college, and if I go there, I hope to get into a system and work for a good company. And what about that individual creativeness? What about like, how do you teach entrepreneurship at the high school level? How do you start that process?
Well, so there's a lot of, so it's interesting. So I just met with Junior Achievement last week.
I remember that.
Like,
that's still a thing?
Oh my God. First of all, I went to this thing down in South Bay called BizTown.
Okay.
It is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. They have created this city that has all these, so these kids, fourth grade to seventh graders, they go in there and they spend a few days and they apply for jobs. They have all these companies sponsored, like Sheets, UPMC, and they literally have storefronts. It was amazing. It's teaching kids, like, you apply to 3 jobs, you get hired, someone becomes the mayor of the town, someone becomes the magistrate, They have to do
Oh, where's this?
Well, this is a junior achievement in South Fayette,
Okay.
right off the Bridgeville exit.
Okay.
Like I met with them because Patrice, the president, she's part of my business group, and she said she wanted to help with the foundation, and like, gave me some good ideas. But I was blown away. Like, where was this when I was a kid? Like, it's teaching kids like how to operate in a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was telling us, it's amazing to me. Like it's out there, right? We just need to get better at looking for it and getting kids engaged in it. Like it was, I mean, this thing blew me away.
It makes me feel good that that's there.
I mean,
was not aware of that.
When I walked in, I was completely blown away in the best possible way. And when she explained it to me, what they do, like it brought me so much like happiness knowing that this is out there, that this is good for the next generation. And it inspired me even more with the foundation. Say, what can we do to help or partner up and to try and bring this more into the world? Because entrepreneurs are what this world needs.
No question.
We don't need worker bees. We have plenty of those, but we need entrepreneurs.
And
they're willing to take the risk.
I think, and along what goes with that is free thought,
Yes.
free thinkers.
Yes,
and that's, I would venture to say that we continually get smarter as humans, although the way we interact with each other, if someone came down from another planet and looked at us, we wouldn't look too smart.
They'd probably leave.
But generally speaking, humanity continues to evolve, and I hope our brains get bigger and we keep doing great things. So we have the capacity. Like it's like children, especially. I think again, it's I'm quoting Jim Rohn probably, but children don't lack capacity; they lack caring options.
Yeah,
they don't lack capacity.
No,
I mean they can do amazing things.
Yeah, I mean it's so true, and I mean I look at my kids and just they blow me away, like what they've been able to accomplish in their life, and it makes me proud as a dad, and knowing that there's so much more ahead for them. They're just scratching the surface, and like I wish I could help every kid in the world. Yeah, like I really wish I could, but I'm focused on my three.
Well, so when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's like motivation. I don't think the concept of motivation is probably discussed much in the high school level. Maybe in sports, a coach can help motivate, but in terms of the academics of it all, it doesn't seem like I don't know, like self-awareness is probably too esoteric of a concept to even be approached in the high school level.
I agree. With motivation, though, I think that's framed wrong. I think we get so focused on, to me, motivation is external. Inspiration is internal. I think we need to focus more on teaching kids to be inspired. Because motivation is fleeting. I can be motivated for a day, not motivated.
So what happens when you motivate an idiot? You have a motivated idiot,
right? But think about if you take the two, right? You have motivation, which is external. I can wake up tomorrow and be motivated as shit, and I say I'm going to go and do all this shit today. The next day, I'm not motivated. What gets me out of bed to do the same things is being inspired.
Discipline.
Not even discipline. Discipline is absolutely part of it, but if I'm not inspired to do what I'm doing, it doesn't matter. I can be motivated,
most definitely,
like to the top of the mountain, but I'm not going to do it. Inspiration. We're not talking about that with kids. What inspires you? Like what inspires you to go out and do what you want to do? That's what you need to start talking to kids about. Motivation, in my opinion, is fleeting. I'm motivated 50% of the time. Yeah, I'm inspired every single day.
No question, and that's an important delineation.
Yes,
and I don't know if that's being articulated.
It's not.
It's again. I just think that emotionally speaking, I'm not sure they're coming out of school, entering the work life, equipped correctly.
No, I agree. I mean, they're not, and that's a shame because we spend all this money for taxes for schools, even the college system. And they're not being properly equipped.
Yeah, the thing is, though, it's like the pushback to that is that we're at a position now where, like, our generation is kind of running the show in corporate America. We're at that age now.
Yeah.
So there's the initial conflict.
Yeah.
With the younger generation in social skills and maybe some motivational issues and just some etiquette, things like that. Yeah. So you have that natural conflict. But once the next generation comes, this current generation is not going to have the same kind of issues maybe
Okay.
with this technology generation coming up behind them because
Okay.
it's more similarities.
Yeah.
We remember the pre-technology era,
Yeah.
and now we've been living in the technology era.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
we have that frame of reference.
Yeah, exactly.
But the the next generations won't. So maybe they might not be etiquette and all the things that we think are so necessary for business 20 years from now, 25 years from now, might not hold that. Unfortunately, I think
I hope
hold that much weight.
I hope that's not the case.
With clothing,
it'll be a sad world.
Decorum.
Yeah, I mean, it's all. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
That's the pushback.
Listen, I mean, look at Zoom, man. People weren't wearing pants. I don't have pants on right now. I mean, I'm just kidding. I have pants on. I definitely have pants on. I came here with pants on. They're on. I'm not that guy. But that's the thing that's happening.
And the irony of the whole thing is like, we make so much fun of screens and we want real life conversation, but here we are broadcasting on screens. It's like we are in
the same room talking about it. We are having a conversation.
We are, but
we're just allowing people into the conversation.
Yes, 100%. I just think that all right. So moving to the last topic, the one I really can't wait to ask you about. So it's a day can't go by when there isn't some kind of article in the news about America's government and UFO or UAP, the technical terms.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for the record,
yes,
do you believe in UFOs?
Yeah.
Do you believe they are from another dimension or galaxy or planet? Do you believe they're not man-made?
I feel okay. So let me take that back. Okay. This is not the lawyer to me answering. This is just me being logical. I think it would be irresponsible of me to think we are the only beings that exist in this universe.
Okay.
So there are just certain things we just can't explain. And I look at it, if you can't explain it, there's an explanation. We just don't want to believe the explanation. So I think there are. I do. There's so many. I mean, this is like this. I mean, I'm tongue tied, but I mean, this has been talked about for years, right? And like, it doesn't just like. There's not this many excuses as to what these are. Just say it. They're fucking UFOs, and guess what? They may not be from here, and that's okay. Like, as long as we're cool with the aliens, hopefully they'll be cool with us. But do I believe they are? Yeah. Do I believe there are UFOs? Yes. Do I believe they're man-made? No. Do I believe there are other beings out there? Yeah, probably. Never seen one. I've never been taken away. I've never been, I've never had an out-of-body experience. But I think it would be a disservice to myself to truly believe that we are the only beings that exist in this universe. How do we know? We haven't even explored the entire ocean yet. When you think about it, like
that's where they may be hiding out at.
I mean, when you see the things out there, and granted, like there are video technology now that can make a lot of shit up, but there are just things that you can't explain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like why did a flying object just buzz past a plane at a zillion miles an hour? And that was just a bird. No, birds don't fly that fast and have lights. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like...
Well, I think that has been the America's government's position for all these decades to deny everything.
Yes.
But my next point is,
okay,
isn't it interesting that like in 2020 of all years,
that's the best year to do it.
They decide to, we kind of don't really have an explanation for this stuff, so it probably is UFOs.
It's like, hey guys, we have all this stuff going on in the world. Pandemic, we're all going to die. Stay in your house. Oh, by the way, we have aliens. but look at the death toll. Look at all these people. Like, stay in your house. Like, this is bad. Like, take care of your grandma. And aliens are here, but don't look over here. Like, that's what happened. It was just, they did it. I mean, I'll give the government credit. They did it at the perfect time. There will never be a more perfect time.
And guess what? They said it, and we really didn't pay too much attention to it.
We were like, cool. How many people died today? Like, that's what people were so worried about. Like, what's the numbers? I can't think. I'm talking about what's the count? What's the count? What's the count? What's the numbers at? It's like they just said there are UFOs and aliens may be here. Does anybody pay attention to this? There may be aliens. Like the people on the news may already be aliens, but we don't care about that. Do you have a mask on? Are the aliens wearing masks? Like that's what it was like. It was like it was the perfect time for them to drop
Actually,
that.
what a great freaking T-shirt that would have been. A little alien guy walking around with a mask on. That would have been the best ever.
It's like I don't care if we have aliens here as long as they're wearing masks. Like we should have made that T-shirt, man.
That's all I got. That's all I got, man. Oh, until next week, we do it all again.
Yes, we shall, my friend.
And everybody be good to each other.
Yeah,
thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
Much obliged.
Yes, definitely.
We'll see. Crazy people.
Yeah.